Hi, I'm Brian Mahon, founder of Igloo Insurance, where we offer transparent risk advice to business owners and families. Today, we're talking about a very specialized, essential coverage clinical trial product liability insurance. If you're conducting or sponsoring a clinical trial in the US, this coverage is critical to protect your organization and your participants. So, what is clinical trial product liability insurance? This protects sponsors, contract research organizations, and investigators from claims related to injuries or adverse effects experienced by participants during a clinical trial. Whether you're testing a new drug, medical device, or biotech or biologic, its participant is harmed. Even with proper protocols in place, you could still be held liable. So, what are the major exposures covered? First, bodily injury, right? The trial participant is injured or harmed or possibly even killed due to the product we're investigating to go to market. Clinical trial product liability steps into place. It could also be an exposure from failure to warn known or foreseen risks that you didn't disclose. There's exposures around protocol deviations that result in harm. Hey, we said we are going to do the experiment this day, but then when we started doing it, it kind of altered or changed. Could be negligence in trial design, administration, or monitoring. Maybe certain healthcare tests should have been done to participants afterwards to make sure they were okay before leaving a test site, and they go out and get a car accident or something, right? That could be considered negligence. Product defects. So even if the product's still under investigation, maybe it's a bad batch or defect or issue, sterile version of it. These are all major exposures. So some key features of a strong clinical trial product liability policy. Most of them are going to be claims made. So just be aware of retroactive dates and a need for tail coverage if you do decide to non-renew or cancel a policy. Defense costs, you want to make sure they're outside the policy limits. If they're included inside the policy limits, that could reduce some of your coverage. There's also no fault compensation that could be a component of your clinical trial product liability, right? So some policies offer participant compensation even without legal liability. There could be site-specific coverage. You just want to make sure all your US sites, or maybe even international sites, are listed in the policy as a covered area. Participant count. Your premium and limits are based on the number of enrolled participants a lot of the time. Pay special attention to how many folks are enrolled that you want to get the data you need, but isn't too much because you might be paying for it. So what about underwriting requirements? So to underwrite clinical trial product liability, it's a bit more involved than your typical business insurance. Underwriters are going to want three things. They're going to want the clinical trial participant informed consent form. This form outlines the risks and expectations for participants. Second, going to want your trial protocol, a detailed plan of how the study will be conducted, where, who, why, expected outcome. They're also going to want to see a clinical trial agreement. So it's typically a contract between sponsor, med device company, pharmaceutical startup, or maybe a biotech innovator, and then the trial site or investigator could be a university, a research hospital, something like that, maybe big pharma. So these documents help underwriters assess the risk and structure the right coverage. And then they'll also ask you to fill out a application for coverage as well. So how much does this cost? Pricing for clinical trial insurance varies widely, but here's what underwriters look at. First and foremost, the number of participants. More participants usually means higher premiums. Which trial phase are you in? A phase 1 trial could be seen as more risky than a phase 3 trial, even though there's likely more participants in phase 3. Phase 1 is more novel. The type of product is also heavily considered. New drug might be riskier or less risky than a medical device, or level 1 medical device would be less expensive to insure than a more invasive level 3 medical device. The duration of the trial. So longer trials can increase exposure. Claims history, if there's been prior losses or litigation, that can raise your rates for clinical trial product liability insurance. The geographic scope, so even if you're just in the United States, which we're talking about here, multi-state trials may require broader coverage, especially maybe in states like California or New York. Premiums in general can range from about $5,000 to $10,000 in annual premium for a small, low-risk clinical trial to multiple tens of thousands of dollars for complex or high-risk studies. So some common mistakes to avoid when you're looking at clinical trial product liability. Number one would be working with an agent that just doesn't understand life sciences or has never worked on these type of risks before. They're very unique, so you want someone who A, knows which carriers to go to, but B, expects what the underwriters are going to ask for and be able to market your risk in the best light. Some folks might assume that general liability covers trial risks. It does not. So when you go to get this coverage, you want to make sure all trial sites are listed. If not, a claim could be denied. You don't want to underestimate participant numbers. That could affect pricing and coverage adequacy, especially come claim time, or letting coverage lapse between phases. That leaves you exposed to really uncovered claims. So the idea is you write a clinical trial product liability, bind it, and issue the policy at stage one. Then it renews and grows with you to protect you all the way up until you have product on market. So some of the best carriers for clinical trial product liability insurance in the U.S. often include Medmark, Berkeley Life Sciences, Chubb, all of them in my career. We also work with excess and surplus lines, kind of non-admitted Lloyd's and London syndicates and markets that write U.S. trial coverage through that marketplace. So in closing, if you're thinking about clinical trial insurance and have a question, feel free to reach out to us. At Igloo, we offer transparent risk advice and would be happy to consult with you. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.